That's a giant.
So here we are in my home state, Ohio, and I'm after a deer I call Splits. Got a lot of history with, we've been watching him grow for a long time, and he's made a pretty good jump this year. In my mind, I want to go take a look at Splits and see if he's even a deer I want to shoot. Because sometimes it's hard to tell 100% from trail camera pictures if the deer is as big as you think. Splits never really uses this piece of ground until fall gets here and he starts feeling a lot of pressure. And that's just been his system for the last few years. And this is an all wooded tract. It's 100 acres, solid timber, surrounded by a bunch of timber and a little bit of fields to the north where it's being hunted fairly hard. You know, some other guys are after him too. We're all after this same deer, but I'd been kind of leaving him alone and not hunting him. Once Splits got to this age and knowing enough about him, how he works and where he beds when he's on this property were all key factors in how I was going to play this out. And I had already gone in and set up a trail camera in a location. When he came back to this area, I would know he was there. This area had no cell service, and I'd have to go in and pull the cards manually. And I freshened up this scrape outside of this typical bedding area where Splits like to use on this hillside. And this scrape is down in the valley, and typically his system would be to come down out of the bedding area, work this valley a little bit, work scrapes, work around nudge does, eat acorns, whatever, go back up the valley and out to the crop fields or wherever he wanted to go. There's so much timber around here. Plus, everybody in Ohio baits deer, so about any direction that this guy wanted to go, he could go to a corn pile on somebody's property. I elected on this deer that I really wasn't going to feed him much. I knew that the pressure is what kind of kept this deer where he was. I wanted to try to manipulate him a little more naturally, and that's where I feel these mock scrapes and gets them in my roundhouse when they get to a certain age. And Splits is, you know, 5, 6.5-year-old deer. And he hadn't been around, and I had the camera running way before that, and I had never got him on camera anywhere. I was hoping that he was even still alive. Didn't know for sure that he was, but I knew he'd made it through the season. Things just weren't real ripe around home. You know, deer weren't doing a whole lot. We kind of had a little weather front coming in. I'm gonna go check this scrape. Things cooled down a little bit, and I knew it should make deer move. One day after work, I slid in there. I stopped, walked back the valley, pulled the card out of the camera, and wouldn't you know it, there's Splits. He's on camera, coming out of this bedding area, and then the one time it's actually daylight where he's standing there the day before, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I knew I had to make a move. I knew that he was hot. I knew he'd been pushed in there because I knew all the neighbors had been hunting him hard already. He was on my spot. He felt comfortable enough to move in daylight. He was working that scrape I'd made, and I'm like, okay, I've just got to take the chance, and I've got to hunt this deer. The hard part about this valley is the way the wind works. You've got to be very scentless. And so that's again where my phase system comes into play. The weird thing is how the thermals work in this valley. Like the wind can be from the north and you think it's gonna blow the scent down through the valley from the north, but it does not. A north wind actually in this valley, and the valley runs north and south, but believe it or not, a north wind actually makes the wind in here come from the west. When it comes from the south, it blows it across the hollow to the east. Well, he bedded on the east side of the hollow, but a lot of does bedded on the west side. I needed to just be confident in what I was gonna do, and I knew that it was gonna be risky, and I typically don't hunt low in the evenings, but I knew this deer was working the evening, so I had to give it a shot. It's October 14th. I get in there about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm sliding back there real quiet. You know, leaves are starting to fall. Things are changing. It smells like fall. It's just an exhilarating time of year. I'm ready to hunt. I got deer moving up the hill from me already to the west side. It's a group of does, and I could just hear them up there, but I couldn't quite see them. And all of a sudden, one of them just gives a blow. So instantly, spray down again, I foam up a little bit. I'm just trying to cover myself up as much as I can. This doe beds within 20 yards of me, my wind pounding her in the face. Now, mind you, if these deer would have busted and started blowing and carrying on and all this, there's no way that Splits would have come down that hill. He would have just been too nervous and this hunt wouldn't have happened. Two little bucks come down, they start sparring. They're just hanging out in here. I mean, I am in their bedroom. I'm just trying to sit really still, not move a lot, just pay attention because I don't want to get busted by all these deer that are in the area. And it's not long, and I see a tree up the hill just moving. And sure enough, he steps out and starts coming down the hill a little bit, and I mean, my heart just went boom, boom. When I saw the side view of him, he was a lot bigger than I thought. I mean, he was just impressive. His mass and the height of his tines, and it was so cool to see this deer in person like this after all this years of letting him grow and history.
Holy smokes. He came right from where I thought he would, hoping that he's just gonna follow them does, mess around, then he'll come back this way, work this scrape, and maybe I'll get a shot.
He heard these other deer down here. He's gonna come down to this area, he's gonna nudge them does around, he's gonna work his scrapes, and then he's gonna go do his thing for the night, because they're not breeding yet, but he's wanting to show his dominance in the area. And there's some does over there to the right, and he instantly goes to those does. He starts pushing them around, I can hear him grunting. As he was over there, I gave him a couple grunts when he was with these does. And I wanted to let him know there was another buck over here that wasn't too awful scared of him. And all of a sudden, I can see Splits coming back. And I actually heard him grunt, so I grunted right back again.
He's coming, he's coming.
At this point, I didn't need to call to him anymore. He was coming on a string, all bristled up, went right to his scrape.
Yeah, baby. Oh my gosh. I just smoked a giant. Yeah. That is a giant. And he's been missing all summer. And now all of a sudden he just showed back up 2 days ago on my camera. And I finally went in and checked it. And he was working this hollow. So I made a mock scrape. And there he is. Oh, that deer's way bigger than I thought he was when we got the pictures. The PhaZe system being in this hollow all evening with deer all around me, wind swirling. You're not supposed to hunt bottoms in the evenings, but I was. I knew I was gonna kill this deer tonight. I just knew it. It's October 14th today, I believe. And that is early to kill a giant buck.
When I made that scrape, you know, years past he's used that scrape. When I went back in and freshened it up, it was basically a way for me to know, okay, when Splits is in the area, he'll work this scrape, because it literally was, you know, 80 yards from his bedding area. And it's in the valley, and these deer all work the valley back and forth.
Holy smokes. Dude, you gotta be kidding me. That thing didn't go nowhere. I mean, my stand is right there. That big yellow tree is my stand. Holy smokes, yes. Look at this deer. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Oh, thank you, Lord. What a stud. Look at that deer, boys. Pure craziness. Thank you, Lord. Unbelievable, beautiful deer. Just a gorgeous buck.
So a lot of people talk about the October law, you know, and here it is, I just killed this deer and it's October 14th. Do I believe in the October law? Yes, I do. I do believe there's factors that heavily weigh in on when some of these bucks like just disappear, go underground after this hormonal change. One of the factors is you know, that you really need to pay attention to are weather patterns. We just had some rain that kind of had the deer feeling pretty good. I knew they were going to work the scrapes. He was in an area that he felt really comfortable. Okay, he hadn't been encountering any pressure there. I knew that he could move in a spot like this in daylight. That's key too, I think, in this October lull period. If you can get aggressive with a deer and you have a way in and out that you feel like you can get close to one, and if you know where he's at, well then I think you can do it and you can get away with it. Being scentless. With all those does around me, you have to be as scentless as you can be. And again, everybody knows my system by now with using the PhaZe system to be scentless as much as possible, seal my skin up, using the foam, using the lotions, everything I can to kind of trap my human odor. It works. You don't want to use something that's been on the shelf for a year. So you really need to be particular. The success I've had, every year I kill at least 1 to 2 bucks every year using this system.